Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we are jumping into something that's at the very core of working with data, SQL's data manipulation language, or DML for short. This is the stuff that really brings your data to life. So, think about it. You've done all the hard work, you've collected your data, you've structured it, and it's all sitting nicely in a database. But now what? What's the point? Data that just sits there is, well, it's pretty useless. Its real value comes when you can actually read it, change it, and put it to work. And that's exactly what DML is for. So here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to figure out what DML actually is. Then, we'll get into reading data, which is huge, followed by how we actually modify it. And we'll wrap up with what is, no joke, the single most important rule you need to remember.
Okay, so how do we actually talk to our data? Have a conversation with it? Well, SQL gives us a special set of words for that. But first, you've got to understand that there are really two different languages we use when we deal with a database.
And this analogy just nails it. On one side, you have DDL, the data definition language. Think of DDL as the architect. It draws up the blueprints, it builds the actual house, it creates the tables and defines the entire structure. But today, we're all about DML, the data manipulation language. This is about what happens inside the house. It's how you move the furniture around, bring in a new sofa, or get rid of that old armchair. DML is the language of action.
All right, so to put a more formal definition on it, DML is just the group of commands we use to handle the actual data living inside our tables. The key thing to remember here is that it only affects the rows of information. It never, ever changes the structure of the database itself.
And you know what? It really just boils down to these four basic things. You can read data, you can add new stuff, you can change what's already there, and you can get rid of old data. That's it. Every command we're going to look at fits into one of these buckets.
So let's start with the one you're going to use all the time. I mean, like 99% of the time. Reading data. And the command for that is select. It is the absolute workhorse for anyone working with data.
And you can just feel the excitement in this quote, right? Select is how we explore, how we ask questions, how we really start to understand our data. And unlike the other DML commands we'll see, it doesn't actually change anything permanently. It just lets you look at the data in a million different ways.
To make this all super clear, we're going to use this simple little employees table as we go. We've got an ID, first and last name, and a status. Nice and straightforward.
Now, what if we only wanted to see a list of our employees' first names and their current status? Easy. We use the select command, tell it exactly which columns we want, first name and status, and then we use from to tell it which table to look in.
And bam, just like that, the database gives us exactly what we asked for. Not the whole table, just the specific pieces of information we wanted. That's the beauty of select.
Okay, so reading data is fundamental. But what happens when the real world changes? Let's get into the commands that actually go in and modify the data in our table.
First up, let's say we just hired someone new. To add them to our table, we use the insert into command. We name the table, employees, and then we provide the values for the new row, making sure they're in the right order.
And there she is. You can see Kira is now at the bottom of our table, a brand new row. The insert command worked perfectly.
Now, for a couple other really common scenarios, we can use update to change a piece of info that's already there, like maybe an employee goes on leave. Or we can use delete to completely remove a record if someone leaves the company. Now, notice that both of these commands use that little where clause at the end. That's how we tell it which row to mess with. And trust me, that part is a very, very big deal.
And here's what our table looks like after all that. You can see Jim's status is now on leave, and Henry's record is just gone. We have successfully added, changed, and removed data.
All right, we just used update and delete, but I have to stop here and talk about the single most important part of using them safely. Seriously, getting this next part wrong is how you have a really, really bad day at work. I really want this to sink in. If you're going to be modifying data, this is the #1 lesson. You have to get this right.
And this quote says it all. If you write an update or a delete command and you forget to include the where clause, the database has no idea you only wanted to change one specific row. So what does it do? It assumes you mean all of them. This isn't an exaggeration. This is how entire tables get wiped out by accident.
Just look at the difference here. The command on the left is absolutely terrifying. Without a where clause, it would set every single employee's status to inactive, the whole table. But the command on the right, that's our hero. The where clause targets only the employee with the ID of 101. It's precise, it's controlled, and it does exactly what we want. No more, no less.
So let's do a super quick recap. Select is for looking. Insert, update, and delete are for changing. And the where clause, that's your safety net. It's your seatbelt. It ensures you only change exactly what you mean to change.
I absolutely love this quote because it's so true. These commands aren't just some abstract technical thing. They are the fundamental actions we take every single day. It's the conversation that we're constantly having with our databases.
And that leaves us with one last really important thought. We have all this power at our fingertips to ask questions and make huge changes to data. So the real challenge isn't just about learning the commands, it's about learning to use them with the care and the precision they demand, to make sure our actions are always meaningful and always safe.